But then now we'll get into the Lynn. I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of this class because I still get a lot of questions on how they compare to specifically Sias and Bishops, right? The three mage support classes that are the other two classes I would say like the Lynn is kind of comparable to. So we definitely I want to break it down and mainly how I would describe the Lynn in comparison to those other two. So first of all, understanding refreshing you guys' memory on the toolkit for Lynn. Okay, so they have a party iframe of 5 seconds here. So one thing you have to pay attention to is that it's my W skill here. So like it's this shield. So you have to be everyone has to be within this shield to get the protection. And there's a little bit of a delay to it, but the wording is you have to make sure you understand the wording. It's on your focused target. Okay, so how you set up your focus target is you have this focus skill, and in bossing, it's essentially like how paladins would use designate divine echo. You click on the person in the drop down menu of your party and you press focus, and then it's going to show up here. So if you're not like, I can't do this, it doesn't let you do it in auto battle, which maybe they'll change later on, but you see I can't click on anybody here. So I only can designate to myself in training. So if I just click the button, it's gonna like I'm deactivated. Okay, and then all these skills can be directed to this person that you focus on. So this force heal is an iframe for 5 seconds. This focused heal is on your target. It's gonna be 5%, not 3%, based on the later buffs for 30 seconds every 2 minutes. Very, very good focused heal, and then you can actually teleport to them if you need to. And then that is through focus. Okay, your focus target. And then you have this skill support flight. It's a 2-second party iframe. So every time you see like me streaming and this skill comes up, that is the iframe. It's very short, like it was gone already, 2 seconds. So it's 2 seconds, but the nice thing is these skills right here, this is a 10% heal every 10 seconds for 60 seconds. These two skills can be time leapt currently. So you actually can get a second party iframe technically pretty immediately after, and then this heal. So it's a great tool to have. Just be aware of that. This one does not get time leapt, but it's very good. And then you also have, let's see what else heals I have. I have these two. This is the focus party heal, the focus target heal, the party heal. These are the two iframes here, my presets. And then there's one more called Nature's Grace that is sort of a unique skill as well. It's an instant 50% heal at max level. And you get a HP scaled shield ratio of 50% as well at max level. 2-minute cooldown at level 30. And it's a 10-second buff duration. So let me show you how this skill works, because it's very, the way it's worded, it says it grants a protective shield in proportion to your max HP, but it's not exactly a shield. So look at my HP right here. It's about 124. My base here is about 150. Okay, so when I use this skill, the D skill, look, my HP actually jumps up to 50% more, 150% for, let's see, 3, 2, 1 seconds here, and then it's going to go back down. So it's not necessarily like a Wind Archer's heal, which I thought it was, where it absorbs 50% hits. So like you'd be taking zeros until the shield is completely used up, absorbed. It's actually an HP increase. So the con of this, okay, this skill specifically, is that like in Will, for example, HP scaling skills don't really get affected by that. It just means you're going to get hit harder. So like 70% is still 70%. You're not actually absorbing it's not an absorption shield of damage. So when I tried it in Will, people still died because like they were taking, like, say my HP went up to 300k, they were still taking the full percent, like was it 80, 90% of it. But instead of taking, I don't know, 200k HP, they were taking, instead of taking like 180k HP, for example, they were taking 270 or, 90%, the same ratio. full, but just more damage, and then they got comboed by something else and then they died, right? So it's just very not as I thought it was initially, right? And so what I would say is a con, maybe in certain situations, but I think it's more just about you understanding how it plays out, what it actually is doing. Okay. And so the pros of this class, okay, the way I would describe a Lynn is that it's sort of the phantom of support, as far as like it's a jack of all trade kind of master of none type of situation. For example, like the support healing is great, right? It has different options for healing, but it's not as good as Bishop's healing, in my opinion. Like compared to their fountain, which is 100% uptime, they can even use their heals every 5 seconds. They have, it feels like, and even their like peacemaker heals. A lot of their even passive attacks can heal. You can go into a support heal mode and do even more healing. So I would say it's not as consistent and passive as that is, right? And I guess the pro and the con is that you have to be more on demand with it. You can't just throw it out there and like it's going to do its thing. Like a bishop. Like you can't use bishop just off a cooldown, use fountain. They just, if they're in, if they have heal, if they're not in RI, they can just throw heal into a preset every 5 seconds. They're going to heal the team, right? For Lynn, they're longer cooldowns. Like even this one is 60 seconds and you're going to 10% ticks every second. It's good, but you can't just throw it out there because you're only going to get it for 10 seconds. There has to be a purpose for it. You have to understand when to use it or it's not going to be as valuable, right? Same for this Nature's Grace skill. Great, 50% on-demand heal, huge. But you can't just throw that out there, right? Or like if everyone's at 100%, there's nothing going on, right? So that's why like I would say it's about 80 to 90% healing of what a bishop can do. It's not the best at it, but it's still insane value, right? And I would say it's the same for when you compare the party iframes to Sia. Okay, so Sia's have great. They obviously have great party iframes. They have a skill that you can immune like the next 3 attacks. And I think in comparison, Lynn's one is very good. But again, it's just slightly a little bit worse. And when you incorporate Hourglass as well in part of Sia's toolkit, which is a huge part of their toolkit, like Lynn's is again 80 to 90% of what a Sia can provide. Right? This party iframe is 5 seconds on a 90-second cooldown. It's great, but you have to be in the vicinity. Whereas Sia, I think like there's no zone. It's everybody gets it. So you could be halfway across the map and you'll get the buff. This one is everybody, right? Can get it no matter where you're on the map, but it's only 2 seconds, right? So how valuable is this if you don't know when to use it? So example, I used it in Will during, like when I saw someone go the wrong direction during a Will test in phase 2, I threw this out here, right? Just to be safe. So it's just like a immediate, okay? But you got to time it right. It's like for Yellow Eyes in phase 3. You have to time it kind of perfectly almost, or that 2 seconds is going to go by and you're not going to get the value out of it. You're not going to get the party iframe. So that is sort of the pros. It has iframes, party iframes, but the con is that you have to be more on top of your game as far as when you use it to maximize. And I think, I don't know if it's you. Some may consider it a pro, some may consider it a con, but I think that like the ability to, like, if you know the mechanics of the boss and you know the class, the Lynn class, there can be huge, like you can make huge game saving plays as a Lynn that can kind of make or break whether you pass or fail. But if you don't really understand the boss or you don't really understand the class and you don't use this properly, then you're just throwing it away, right? You're kind of praying and hoping for the best, right? And so I think one of the biggest cons, if I were to say, for this play style, is that you have to be able to survive on your own without using these iframes. I think that's like one of the things that's going to frustrate a lot of Lynn players and like people that bring Lynns onto their team, or they're trying to have Lynn as an alt or whatever it is, and they're just not great at surviving on their own. Because let's be honest, like mages, like it doesn't have much, right? So it has heals and iframes, and it has ethereal form, right? Ethereal form is going to be your best, like, oh shit, moment. Like for example, in Will, if I'm like get knocked back randomly, unexpectedly, like I have to use ethereal form versus I like to stay alive. And that's kind of really my only option, because if I were to use this party iframe, for example, like I kind of just reactionary use this one, then I'm not going to have this for something even more important, like a yellow eyes, which could have the possibility of killing even more people, right? Because it's a longer cooldown, 90 seconds, or if I use this skill, right, it's even longer. It's a 2-minute cooldown. So the downside of Lynn, if you really want to get invested into it, that a real big con is the player's ability to be self-sustainable on their own. Because a lot of these heals, like, or these iframes that you think you have, you can't just use them recklessly for your own self, right? Like it's like a paladin using sacro without being bonded to the aggro, right? It's kind of just using it like selfishly. You cannot do that with a Lynn, right? You have to think of these party iframes as helping what's best timing for the team. But if you're always dying because you kind of survive with just ethereal form, or you're taking damage unnecessarily, then you are going to have a hard time, and you're not going to be able to be the support that your team requires and it kind of expects from you with these party iframes, right? So keep that in mind. That's kind of where I think it differentiates. It's kind of more on the Sia, sort of closer to Sia than it is Bishop, because a lot of Bishop stuff is very passive, and like their biggest cooldown defensive is Heaven's Door, right? But that just passively saves lives, right? Like the Bishop doesn't have to do anything special, they just have to use it. Whereas Sia, they have to be more reactive and proactive with their skills. Sias just have more wiggle room to do so, whereas the durations here are much smaller. So that's why I say it's like 80 to 90% of a Bishop, 80 to 90% of a Sia, and sometimes the team will actually, depending on your composition, could benefit more from a Lynn than a Sia specifically, or a Bishop specifically, because it can do a little bit more, it's more flexible, right? You're able to do a little bit of everything. So it's like comparing, like, sometimes people would rather have a Phantom than a Bishop, right? Sometimes people would rather have a Phantom than maybe a Paladin even, right? Because of all the different things they can provide to the team. Maybe not at the peak level, but enough, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's going to actually benefit the team more. So I hope that helps you. It was kind of like the pros and cons list is really dependent more so on the player understanding the class, the boss, and just what the team needs. Okay. But the toolkit is amazing. I have a great time playing with it. Just still early in the stages, still trying to get comfortable. Each boss is very different. So like, I love this skill, Nature's Grace, for Damien, for altars. It is probably one of the best skills for Damien altars, because just you're getting 50%. Basically, you're getting a heal, 50% heal, and then you're getting on top of that probably like 100k HP, right? So those orb ticks can save the team, make or break whether you have a few seconds extra to survive. One of the best skills for Damien, okay? While as like for Will, this party iframe is one of the best, okay? For Vihila, I bet this party iframe is very, very good for skulls or kind of being in a crap position. It's very, very strong. One of the better skills in the game. So it just depends on the situation, right? It just depends on what boss you're doing, and there's so many factors, and that's that's why I think Lynn is definitely one of those classes that if you want to really have a different experience from just DPSing and even a different experience from playing Sia or from playing Bishop, then it's definitely worth it to try Lynn, see how much you like it, and really see how you can kind of change up your play style depending on run to run. So that's why I'm having fun with it. I'm gonna make it kind of one of my second mains. I'm excited to try it in Vihila when I get to that level, because I think it's gonna have huge value in that boss specifically because of the party iframes.